When you combine shrinking above-ground inventories with rising industrial use, you create tension in the system. And when a metal is both industrially essential and strategically sensitive, it becomes a national security issue. The Pentagon has long maintained stockpiles of critical materials. During the Cold War, strategic reserves were considered essential insurance. Over time, some of those reserves were reduced as global trade expanded and confidence in supply chains grew. But recent geopolitical tensions have changed the mood. Trade wars, sanctions, and shifting alliances have exposed how fragile global supply chains can be. Imagine a scenario where a major conflict disrupts shipping lanes or restricts metal exports. Silver prices would likely spike. Manufacturers competing for limited supply would face higher costs and delays. Defense contractors who rely on just-in-time supply systems could suddenly experience bottlenecks. And in military production, delays are not just financial problems. They are strategic problems. There's also another layer most people overlook. Silver is used in higher reliability batteries, including certain defense applications. In space systems, reliability is everything. A satellite cannot afford an electrical failure. A missile guidance system cannot glitch. Silver's conductivity and resistance properties make it ideal for these roles. While the public debate often focuses on oil and rare earth elements, silver moves more quietly. It doesn't get the same headlines. But that can make it even more important. When something is taken for granted, its shortage can surprise the system. Some analysts have pointed out that global silver inventories on major exchanges have fluctuated sharply in recent years. Industrial users increasingly prefer long-term supply agreements rather than relying purely on spot markets. That behavior suggests awareness of tightening conditions. The United States still produces silver domestically, but not enough to fully cover all industrial and defense needs. Imports fill the gap. That dependency is manageable in stable times. But stability is never guaranteed in geopolitics. At the same time, environmental regulations and permitting delays make it harder to rapidly expand mining projects, even if policymakers decide today that more domestic silver production is necessary. It can take years before new mines come online. Resource development moves slowly. Strategic competition moves quickly. What if I told you that one of the most powerful military institutions on Earth is quietly facing a problem that almost no one is talking about? And it's not about missiles, drones, or fighter jets. It's about silver. Not gold, not oil, silver. A metal most people think of as jewelry or coins. But behind the scenes, silver is becoming one of the most critical materials for modern warfare. And if supply tightens at the wrong moment, it could create ripple effects far beyond what anyone expects. Right now, deep inside defense supply chains, silver plays a role in systems that power radar, satellites, advanced communications, precision weapons, and even nuclear infrastructure. Without it, some of the most advanced military hardware simply cannot function. And yet, global silver inventories have been shrinking, industrial demand has been rising, and renewable energy is consuming record amounts of it every single year. Before we go deeper, if you enjoy uncovering hidden shifts in global power and money like this, make sure you like the video and subscribe to The Monetary Shift. This channel is all about connecting the dots between resources, geopolitics, and the financial system in a way that most mainstream headlines never do. Now here's the part that makes this story different. Silver is not just another commodity. It is the most electrically conductive metal on Earth. That means whenever you need maximum efficiency in circuits, high-end electronics, or military-grade systems that cannot afford failure, silver becomes the preferred material. In fighter jets, missile guidance systems, secure communications, and advanced sensors, performance matters more than price. The Pentagon does not publicly announce, "We have a silver problem." Governments rarely frame resource challenges in such simple terms. Instead, you see small clues, reports about supply chain vulnerabilities, discussions about critical minerals, quiet investments in domestic production, strategic stockpile adjustments. It's never one dramatic headline, it's a pattern. For decades, the United States relied heavily on global markets to supply industrial metals. But today, the competition for those metals is no longer just economic, it is strategic. Countries like China have aggressively expanded their control over refining capacity and mineral processing. While silver is mined in many places, Refining and industrial distribution networks are tightly interconnected with other metals, like copper, zinc, and lead. Silver is often a byproduct. That means it is not mined primarily for silver itself. It is extracted while mining other base metals. So if economic slowdowns reduce copper or zinc production, silver supply can drop even if demand stays strong. That creates a structural vulnerability that is not easy to fix quickly. Now think about what is happening at the same time. Solar panels require significant amounts of silver. Electric vehicles use it in electrical systems. 5G infrastructure relies on it. Artificial intelligence data centers require high-performance conductive materials. Industrial demand has been climbing steadily, and in some recent years, global demand has exceeded newly mined supply. This creates a quiet paradox. The Pentagon invests hundreds of billions into advanced weapon systems, stealth technology, cyber capabilities, and next-generation defense platforms. But those systems rely on physical materials pulled from the ground. And if even one key material becomes constrained, it can ripple through the entire defense industrial base. Some insiders argue that the issue is not an immediate crisis, but a long-term vulnerability. The risk is gradual tightening rather than sudden collapse. But history shows that gradual tightening can suddenly become acute when stress hits the system. We saw something similar during global semiconductor shortages. Few people thought about chips until supply collapsed and industries stalled. Cars couldn't be finished, electronics were delayed, prices surged. That was not a military metal issue, but it revealed how interconnected and fragile modern manufacturing truly is. Silver may not grab headlines like oil embargoes did in the 1970s, but in a technology-driven era, conductive metals are just as critical. Modern warfare is digital, networked, and data-heavy. Every system depends on stable electrical performance. Another angle worth considering is financial markets. Silver is both an industrial metal and a precious metal. Investors buy it as a hedge against inflation and currency instability. That means during times of economic uncertainty, investment demand can surge at the exact same moment. Industrial demand remains strong. This dual identity can amplify price volatility. If investors rush into silver as a safe haven, while industrial users are already competing for limited supply, prices can move sharply. That volatility makes long-term defense budgeting more complicated. Procurement contracts may face unexpected cost increases. Contractors may hedge more aggressively. Risk premiums can rise. For policymakers, the solution is not simple. Building massive stockpiles ties up capital and storage costs. Ignoring the issue risks vulnerability. Diversifying supply chains requires time, diplomacy, and investment. Encouraging domestic mining can trigger environmental debates and local opposition. So instead of one dramatic announcement, what you see is gradual adaptation. Strategic reviews, critical minerals lists updated quietly, incentives for refining capacity, subtle policy shifts, the system adjusts without panic. But here's the key question. If silver truly becomes more constrained over the next decade due to green energy expansion and technological growth, will defense demand be prioritized? Or will military and civilian sectors compete in the same market? In times of peace, markets allocate resources through price. In times of tension, governments intervene. History suggests that strategic needs often override free market dynamics when national security is involved. And this is where the story becomes bigger than just one metal. The Pentagon's so-called silver problem reflects a broader shift in global power. Control over resources is once again central to strategy. Supply chains are no longer just economic networks. They are geopolitical tools. The world is entering an era where materials matter as much as money. Advanced weapons, AI systems, renewable grids, and digital infrastructure all rely on physical inputs. The countries that secure reliable access gain leverage. The ones that assume markets will always provide may face surprises. For everyday investors and citizens, this raises important questions. Are we underestimating the strategic importance of industrial metals? Are governments preparing enough for resource competition? And could metals like silver become the next pressure point in global tension? At the Monetary Shift, we look at these quiet signals before they become loud crises. Because by the time a shortage hits headlines, the real moves have often already happened behind closed doors. If you've made it this far, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think silver could become a strategic flashpoint in the next decade, or is this risk being overstated? Drop your opinion in the comments. And if you found this breakdown valuable, share this video with someone who follows geopolitics or investing. These conversations matter more than ever. The Pentagon may never publicly frame this as a silver problem, but when you connect industrial demand, shrinking inventories, rising geopolitical tension, and the increasing complexity of modern warfare, the picture becomes clear. In a world powered by advanced electronics, the most powerful weapon systems might depend on something surprisingly simple: a metal that most people overlook, a supply chain few people monitor, and a vulnerability almost no one is talking about: